Check, check. May I now request everyone to please take your seats. We will be beginning the program shortly. American industrialist and business magnate Henry Ford said, "Wealth, like happiness, is never attained when sought after directly. It comes as a byproduct of providing a useful service." A very good evening to one and all gathered here, and to all attending this program virtually. I am Esther Nicole Rego, your host for this evening. We are all present here today to commemorate the completion of 20 years in the field of wealth management and to have an insightful session from Dr. Shashikant on wealth, life, and happiness. I'm sure that wealth, life, and happiness would be topping every individual's list of priorities. Before we delve more into this topic, let us invoke God's blessings on this event and on each one of us. Now I request Ruth, Dion, Sion, Stan, and Joanna to sing a prayer song for us. Let us all rise and unite our voices with them.
Lord, make me an instrument of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. I make you an instrument of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. I sing to your love song, a love song of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. I sing to your love song, a love song of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. Lord, make me an instrument of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. Lord, make me an instrument of worship. I lift up my hands in your name. I lift up my hands in your name.
Warren Buffett said, and I quote, "In the world of business, the people who are most successful are those who are doing what they love." This sums up the story, how it all began 20 years ago. It was the passion of Mr. Naveen Julian Rego that gave birth to this business of wealth management. As the years passed by, this passion has matured into a profession. Today, it's a pride to say that Naveen Rego and his team have been successful in the field of financial advisory and have been helping a number of individuals and families to reach their financial goals. Now I call upon Mr. Naveen Julian Rego to talk about this journey of transforming his passion into profession.
First of all, thanks Umaji, being my training mentor. We met, I think, in 2001, if I'm precise. And she pulled me out of Mumbai University. I took a break from corporate life. And she was with us for our 10th anniversary celebration. So she's there for the 20th. And I look forward for many more in the years to come. Thank you, madam, for being here. If I step back into 2003, I was in Dubai working in a wealth management firm. We didn't like something which I always follow. What is good for the client should be good for us. I quit back then in 2003, came back to Mangalore with no money, but passion for doing something to make this broken industry where the entire institutional setup was more for the institutions or for the intermediaries, not for the clients. I didn't have any money. My dad was the first private equity investor in my business. He was an ex-army man, so his pension helped me for the initial days. I miss him. He passed away in May. When I started, financial planning was not there. So typically, people used to ask, "Karte kya ho aap? What do you do?" That's all okay, but what do you do for your living? Luckily, around that time, I met Seema. She was a CA. I got married to her, and she was working in Infosys subsequently, so I got an introduction. So I used to tell people, my name is Naveen. My wife is a CA working in Infosys. So people used to get an idea. My wife was funding my expenses. Thank you, Seema. There are a lot of stories. I think my clients, who are my clients, know what we did, and I think some clients will talk during. I'll not try to bore that. But over the years, we followed what is good for the client is good for us always. None of our clients have become rich because of us. I'm 100% sure. And if people, I keep telling that, don't come to us to become rich because you're already rich in your profession and you're already happy with your family. We only help you to protect your wealth or protect you from your wrong behavior. And we have done that over the period of time. We never focused on high returns, but we helped our clients achieve their financial goals. That gives us a huge high when a client says that this house is getting built because of that plan which we have done, or my beti ki shaadi is happening because of the plan. We make the entire financial planning process as boring as possible, and clients will vouch with me. A lot of times during review meetings, a lot of clients tell me, "Wohi kya batate ja raha hai? Every time you tell the same boring stuff." We help clients to focus on their profession, families, and passion, to make this entire process boring so that they focus what they're good at. We have never chased exciting products. We help clients to take exciting vacations and outings and experiences. We also, when these new regulations came in by SEBI on investor advisor guidelines, we had a very good business running on the brokerage side, but we felt we should move on and self-destruct and disrupt ourselves. So we took that big decision where we felt clients should pay us, not the institutions. We are very happy to tell, in this 200-kilometer radius of Mangalore, we are the only SEBI-registered investment advisors as we speak. And in a country of 1.4 billion population, there are only 1,300 RIAs. One is we. It's been 20 years. We were passionate, crazy. Then we have added, well, regulations to that. We have added experience to that. So for all my clients, your money is in safe hands. So you can sleep well don't sleep more, bad for health. Success is always a team effort. And most of my success has been by a lot of my clients who have tremendous faith in my capabilities. And there are clients who say that Naveen jo bol raha hai kar, and we feel very happy that they trust their money through us. Thank you, dear clients who are watching us virtually. Many of my clients are not based out of, they are Mangaloreans, but based outside Mangalore. My parents, I miss them. I lost my mom 3 years back and dad in May this year. Talking about women empowerment, my entire team is women. Crazy women. I have Reshma. Reshma is, I think, in the registration desk. Manjari, she had to take an vacation. Flavia is here. And Rupa, who counts my money. And Usha. Crazy people. They help me to sleep well at night and also in the afternoon. They help me so much so I can focus what I'm good at. And they do wonderful jobs. And I have sometimes calls coming to me and they ask, give me Reshma. I don't want to talk to you. So they are so well. I would like to thank my past employees who were there during our different times. Employees of mutual funds and financial institutions, those who push us so much. Thank you. Umaji, my training mentor, always an inspiration. I use a lot of your articles to get more clients. I also remember during MBA days, Mr. Bharat Phatak ji of Wealth Advisors Pune, who initiated me into financial planning, and he gave me this line, always protect client's wealth. If you protect client's wealth, client is with you for life. Thank you, sir, for putting that during my MBA days. We are also doing crazy financial awareness programs along with Franklin Templeton and Mangalore University College Teachers Association. I don't know how many sessions would have happened. Manoj Lewis, where is Manoj Lewis? Yes. Manoj Lewis, Professor Manoj Lewis took this task, and I think we would have done how many numbers, I don't know. But we are doing this, pushing ourselves, because we believe, and I strongly believe, India is a rich country filled by poor people. So we want to change this. And I think one of the students told me, sir, why India is rich and people are poor? Because if you become rich, you lose 10 kg rice per month. You lose the BPL card. I would also like to thank my family, Seema, my wife, Ruth and Esther, for the emotional support. I can go on and on, but if Rajnikant Superstar is here, people don't want to hear me. So I'd like to thank each one of you for being with us during this journey. We are crazy, but we are now more experienced. Your money is in safe hands. In Konkani, we say, Dev Bare Karum. God bless us all. Thank you.
That was quite a journey of experiences. Thank you, Mr. Naveen Julian Rego. Talking about experiences, we have amongst us our esteemed client, Mr. Mohammad Iqbal, with whom Mr. Naveen has been working with for the last couple of years. He is currently the chairman of Semnox Solution Private Limited, a company he founded in 2008 in Mangalore. Semnox specializes in providing IT products and solutions to the leisure and hospital industries. He holds a BTech degree in computer engineering and has a stint of around 13 years in Infosys. He will give us a glimpse of his experience with Naveen and his team. Mr. Mohammad Iqbal, over to you, sir.
Good evening again for the third time. Glad to be here on this wonderful 20 years milestone of my dear friend Naveen's company. I wish him all the best. His team has been wonderful, and I've been associated with this team for the last 7-8 years. And I'm so glad that today Naveen has so many clients, and many are not attending, many are online. And all this he has achieved in this 20 years doing almost nothing, I can say, because this guy doesn't do anything. I have these quarterly meetings with him, right? Review meetings. I think I give him 1,000 fund days. He doesn't do much about the portfolio or anything. I'm sure you share my views on that. I think that is the fundamental philosophy that Naveen demonstrates in his work. Unlike many so-called financial advisors or people who deal with others' money, basically, they believe that there has to be action, there has to be activity, right? There has to be something, buying, selling, this product, that product, change the portfolio, all that, right? So I think the philosophy that Naveen professes is extremely clear, which is capital protection. You can't lose money because that's what you earn. That's what you earned and invested. You can't be losing it. At the same time, there has to be a balance in terms of managing that wealth, in terms of de-risking, and at the same time, there has to be returns, right? So there is a fundamental philosophy that he works with, that which I think strikes a chord with most of wise people, I should say. I would like to share how I used to manage my finances before I met Naveen. As Naveen said, there was no concept called financial planning or wealth management, let's say 20 years back, or even 10, 15 years back. I don't think that concept was very solidly followed by people, per se. Because if you ask me or any of my friends those days, we used to manage the finances ourselves. Or we used to be influenced by agents, representatives of banks who were selling products. And it was like we were very, very easy suckers to all those people. The mistake we were doing is that, see, if you fall sick, you go to a doctor. You have a problem with the tap in a bathroom, you go to a plumber. You have a problem with the electric, any appliance, you go get it fixed with a professional. But when it comes to managing your own money and investment, what do? You become an expert yourself. You do it yourself, which is wrong. And I think that is where most of us make the mistake. Second thing is that we chase returns. And we chase unrealistic returns. We'll hear stories of people, oh, that guy got 30% return in this mutual fund in 1 year, 2 years. We believe in that. We don't listen to stories where people have lost 50% in the same period of time in another product. So these product sellers will come and sell you all this, and you buy. Or you sell without looking at tax implications, without even looking at timing, nothing. So, see, I'm an engineer. I should be good at my work, right? I shouldn't be handling money. It is not my forte. Now, when do you realize all this? You realize all this when people like me do all these ad hoc transactions on their own, buy products prescribed by so many banks who come your way, buy every insurance policy, which is not an investment instrument. If you want insurance, you go buy term insurance or you buy health insurance. But why do you link investment with insurance? But you go for it because he says tax saving, ELSS. They sell specific products to just to pocket the commissions. So these are the mistakes I used to do. I ended up with many insurance policies, a lot of debt funds, a lot of only equity funds, because we're chasing returns. had a lot of real estate investments also. So if you look at it from an overall portfolio perspective, it was so lopsided, so skewed towards equity, so skewed towards risky products which are unrealistic. There was no liquidity. Even if there is an opportunity to invest, there is no money. When the market is down, you are like crying because you don't have money to invest. It's an opportunity. So there was no planning. The whole thing was so ad hoc. And I was busy building out my company, and there was no way I could give any attention. And I realized that there are no free lunches in this world, in this life. You cannot get returns, or you cannot expect returns without adding value. You have to add value to any process if you have to succeed in that. So that's what I realized, that where can I add value in this? I cannot. It is not my forte. It is not my domain. I have to go for a professional. And that's where I met Naveen Rego. I'm glad it happened that I could share my entire financial portfolio with him, which he reviewed. And he created a very good model which is very much aligned to my financial profile at that time. So it was more of balancing the assets, balancing the investments into various asset classes so that we don't miss out. For example, gold is included in the classification of assets. There's a investment equal into equity and debt and all that. He asked me to knock off the insurance policies. He asked me to balance out on the real estate, which was very heavily into many real estate assets. So I think Naveen brought us some kind of a sanity to the whole thing. There was balance which was created, not on a short-term or a overnight basis. It was very long-drawn plan over a 12 to 24-month period, and I think he's still building it out even after 6-7 years to reach that eventual goal of balance. So thanks, Naveen, and all your team. It's always a pleasure that you work on each of our portfolios so focusedly that we don't realize that you have so many clients around you to work on. It feels we are the only client for you, because that is the kind of attention you give, and you are so thorough with every element of our portfolio, and it's great. And the service that we get, it is always perfect. There hardly have been any errors, any even clerical mistakes, no calculation errors. And you go to the extent of validating our capital gains and the kind of inputs you give for our tax calculations. It feels as if you are the only client. I am the only client for you. It feels as though that you are so detailed, and highly appreciate that. And I wish you and your team many, many happy returns of these anniversaries. And I hope your community grows. I hope you continue to add value to people's wealth management and manage people to grow, reach their financial goals in the years to come. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak my heart out here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I think that illustrates that customer confidence and trust needs to be built over time to be a successful financial planner. We would now play a short video about what our clients have to say about us. This video is shared by Mr. Claudio Lobo. Mr. Claudio Lobo hails from a business family in Mangalore. His passion for people and love for numbers has led him to naturally choose his profession in HR strategy and rewards. He has been providing his service in the Middle East for the last 33 years. Here is Claudio Lobo for you.
First and foremost, A big congratulations. $20, that's not small feat. First and foremost, a big congratulations to Naveen Rego and his team, who have provided trusted financial planning and advisory services to India, in particular to Mangalore community for 2 decades, helping people like me to achieve financial wellness and security. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Lobo, a native Mangalorean, an HR strategy and rewards professional providing my services in Middle East Africa region. I had the privilege of joining Naveen Rego's client group midway through his journey. Ever since, I have benefited immensely from his expertise and from his execution team. Like most of us, I'm very lucky to have challenging, stressful, demanding, and time-constrained work life, due to which investments and savings have remained at the mercy of selfish sales consultants who had their own financial and sales goals at the cost of clients like me. It's no surprise, prior to joining or engaging with Naveen, I had several wrong, unplanned investments which I continued because of the fear of losing much more and not knowing what is the best corrective course of action. So it's easy to fall victim to those smooth-talking, self-serving sales consultants who promise the world but deliver nothing. With Naveen Rego, though I experienced refreshing honesty, transparency, his thorough financial analysis, professional and personalized advice have given me confidence and freed my time from overthinking about investments and taking those risky and bold decisions. Now that I know my hard-earned savings are in good hands, he is not just a financial advisor for me, he is also a trusted partner in building a secure financial future. I would like to thank Naveen and his team for providing us the opportunity to listen to renowned financial expert Dr. Shashikant on the topic of wealth, life and happiness, which is so very relevant to the current times. Naveen has been providing me dedicated, unbiased, goal-focused, non-sales pitched recommendations. That's like a holy grail of financial planning for me. A heartfelt tribute to him and his team. Cheers. I wish the next 20 years of continued success to him. Thank you.
That was wonderful to hear about Naveen and his team. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the special moment in our event, what you all have been waiting for, to listen to the star of this evening, Dr. Shashikant. A short introduction about her. She is a PhD in finance with 35 years of experience in capital markets. Before setting up CIEL, an educational initiative in the financial sector, she has worked with well-known institutes like the UTI Institute of Capital Markets, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund, and ING. She has been a personal finance columnist since 2002, and she is currently writing a weekly column for Economic Times Wealth. Ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you. Request you to kindly come on stage. A big round of applause, please. I now request Mr. P.P. Shetty, ex-plant head, BASF India, Mangalore, to present her a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, sir. Ma'am, the stage is all yours. You can now address the gathering.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Naveen, for this opportunity. As he was saying, we go back 22 years. It's a joy to see a friend being appreciated by his clients. I feel very proud as his friend and his teacher. Nothing can be more joyous than finding that principles that we talk about so often, long-term orientation and, boring portfolios and focus on financial goals, to see those being implemented and for clients to come here and vouch that it has worked for them and made a big difference to their lives is truly very, very gratifying. My best wishes, Naveen. Congratulations. I'm very proud. And I'm very happy to see, I'm slightly nervous. I have been a public speaker for a long time, but the last 8 years, I haven't really stood on the stage like this and spoken. So I feel a little out of touch with eager eyes looking at me, and I'm just wondering if I really can add value this evening. I shall make an effort. I think everything that needs to be known about personal finance is known already. So let me start with a disclaimer that I'm probably not going to say anything new. I'm not too sure whether I can, I'm not this prepared speaker, so I don't come with a prepared speech. So let's hope it all goes well. But thank you so much for turning up in this large number. As I can see, the hall is full, Naveen. It's a beautiful feeling. It's always nice to hear one's own voice, isn't it? To be standing here and talking. Yeah. All right. So we are going to talk about wealth, life, and happiness. I think a very broad brush kind of a topic and some existential questions. Let me try and keep it as brief as I can, and then, Q&A is probably the most interesting part where, your takeaways will be higher. I'll talk about just 4 ideas before we get to the question and answers. I'll talk about 4 ideas which I had meant to share with you. The first one I want to talk about is in building your wealth, you probably are building assets, right? Is there an end use for the assets that is there in your mind? Do we have great clarity on what these assets are going to do in our lives and what these assets will do after us? Many times when I talk to investors, I find that their wealth management stops with building assets. As long as they have houses, investments, gold, they feel very accomplished. I remember talking to a group of women in the audience must excuse me for this. That I told her, I said, you spend, she was, again, I'm not caricaturing here. Her husband was working in the Middle East, and she told me that she put all her money in gold. And she had over 200 to 300 tolas of gold. She said, I am a very rich woman, and this is what I have. So then I was asking her what she plans to do with that amount of gold. She said much of it is in the locker, but she keeps wearing it from time to time and feeling happy about it. And then I said, then it is very much like your clothes and your handbag and your footwear, right? Because beyond wearing it, you're not really using it for anything else. And then we got talking, and I told her about financial investments, which can be used for various things. Because the husband told me that if he planned to come back from the Middle East, he will actually need that gold to start something here. And he was very scared to ask his wife. He was not sure if she would give him the gold to do something else. So then when I asked her that she should probably have some of that money as financial investments, she told me this. She said, I can't wear these certificates around my neck, can I? So the idea really was this, that my wealth must show. The fact that I am wealthy has a social signal, and that social signal is typically in the form of where your child is studying, which school, which car are you driving, how many houses you own. So in a social circle, if you're saying, oh, I just booked another flat in this new upcoming building in Mangalore, sounds very good. Rather than saying, I stepped up my SIP from 50,000 to 1 lakh a month. Doesn't sound very exciting, right? So I booked a flat, or I bought this gold, or I went on a holiday here. So somewhere, assets tend to have this glamour value or this social demonstration effect. And therefore, assets end up being assets for assets' sake. You want assets to be working for you, right? So you want to ask what these assets will do for you. And I think all of us are very aware that asset is nothing but future income, right? It's today's income that you're setting aside for some time in the future. So if you're not going to use any of it anytime at all, I have met another couple who said that 70% of their money is in property and in bank deposits, which they will leave behind for their children. They will only consume the rent and the interest. I said, so then you're living for your children, right? She said, yes, we are living for our son, but we don't like the daughter-in-law. Yeah? So the problem really is this, that I want you to think about this, that your assets will live beyond you. You need to have a plan for, if you had 5 houses, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to leave them all for your children who may not live in the city, who may not have interest in those properties as much as you had, because you know that the modern houses are being built very differently from the traditional houses, right? So are they just going to be passed around in the hope that at some point these will get redeveloped and become, valuable? We don't know really. So do we have a plan for assets? Is something that are you going to spend them during your lifetime? Are you going to give them away as in charity? Are you going to use some of them to enjoy? I mean, I have a doctor friend who tells me that he spent his entire life working hard and building a lot of money, saying that after retirement he's going to take his wife on a world tour. The poor woman is down with arthritis now. Yeah, so his wealth, time, and health don't come together at any stage of life. When we're young, we have great health and all time, no money to go around. And by the time you get old, you again you're working, you don't have time. You have some wealth, you have some health, but no time. And then you have all the time and all the wealth. But, climbing the nearest little hill is out of reach, Forget going to South Africa and taking a shot at Kilimanjaro. Yeah? It's an exhilarating trek. Would recommend it to anybody. But I'm sure there are very few 60 plus who can consider that option, right? Which brings me to the second point. Have a strategy for spending. We are a cursed generation, people of my age, the 60s and 70s, who do not know to spend. We accumulate all the money and hope that and we make a virtue out of saving that we have not learned to spend, right? So have a plan for spending. If there is something that matters to your life a lot. I spent this morning in a very well-to-do couple's family. They wanted me to make aloo parathas for them. Yeah, I enjoy cooking a lot. Yeah, so I offered to make it for them. And they had an absolutely dysfunctional peeler. Yeah? So I asked her, I said, you should replace this. She said, why? It's working. Yeah? So we all live through cracked driveways, dysfunctional washing machine, the window. I mean, on an everyday basis, there are things that hurt us, but we are saying it's okay, it can wait a little longer, right? I do believe that if you have wealth and if you think that it should give you some happiness. See, happiness cannot be bought. As the young lady was telling us, happiness has to happen, right? You can't really work towards getting it. But we can strive to fix these everyday things that bring some joy into our lives. Yeah? I told my dad, buy yourself a better pair of spectacles. But I would want you to think through this point of having a plan to spend. Don't keep accumulating the money and keeping that money and getting great joy in saying this is my wealth and I can't. I remember the amount of persuasion we had to do for people to even do an SWP. People, a systematic withdrawal in retirement. Oh, you've built a corpus of 4 crores or 5 crores. And all that one is saying is please draw 3 to 4% every year. Right? The rest of the money is growing anyway. Say, no, I can't touch the principal. So it's like, you remember the mullah story, it's a very popular story. So mullah's servant goes every day to the backyard, digs up to see whether the gold he has buried there is safe. So every day he comes and tells mullah, sir, the gold is there. Sir, the gold is there. One day he comes back and, sir, the gold is not there. So mullah looks at him and says, does it make a difference? Because all you were doing was every day going and seeing whether it is there. You're not using any of it, right? So whether it was there or not there didn't make a difference. Don't do that to your money. Yeah? Don't do accumulating, hoarding and keeping it as a brand of social recognition and as a sign of success. I think we suffer as a nation, I would think. We make a virtue out of hard work, suffering, deprivation, poverty, sacrifice, hurt. Women in this room will vouch for it. A lot of historical ways in which women's lives were defined. So much hard work. Yeah? So much manual. It's been half a century since women went to work. How many men in this room cook? Can I have a show of hands? I'm glad there are a few hands. Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm glad. But women went to work 50 years ago. Yeah, women started doing the man's role 50 years ago. But we somehow believe that a virtuous woman is one who slogs in the kitchen. You see? So we do have these sense of making virtues out of what are clearly hardships. So let's kind of break those. Let's make life easy. Let's spend on where it matters and do something to our lives, live better lives and enjoy the wealth that we have generated. Though we know that wealth is not going to buy happiness, we can fix what can be fixed. Yeah? I want to leave you with that thought. The third thing I want to talk to you about is the constantly asked question. Should I be looking at my portfolio and making changes to that portfolio? It's a challenge. And I know that every time Naveen reviews his strategy towards managing people's wealth, this question is often asked by the customers. Why should I not make changes in the portfolio? Why is it that the same thing should run? Now, there are two ways in which you can approach your investments. One is from making a fantastic choice of the best products that would go into your portfolio. The essential portfolio construction, right? Now, the whole universe is available to you to choose from. And nobody, neither me nor Naveen nor any one of you knows which one of this is going to do very well in the future. We don't know. We have certain parameters, what we call as investment thesis. So we say that, oh, this is the quality of management, this is the track record, this is how the philosophy of the portfolio is, this is how it has been constructed and composed, this is how it has performed. So we are looking at an investment thesis and including a product into the portfolio. But none of this is a guarantee that is going to work exactly the way you had expected it to work, because markets are what they are. We still haven't found the perfect way to get married, and we haven't still found the perfect way to build a portfolio, right? We take a chance and we live with it. Yeah? So, but with marriages, we don't make changes. With portfolios, we can. Yeah, it's slightly a better deal. So what happens is that you've created this portfolio. So the problem or the point for you to manage is only this, that you want to weed out what is not working. So if you had made a certain assumption and you had included something in the portfolio, see, the buying decision is complicated, the whole market is available. The selling decision is very easy. You can only sell what you have. You can only review what you have. So many a times the focus is really this, that if you bought something with certain assumption and if it is not working, you want to throw out what is not working. Trust me, the biggest source of happiness in managing a portfolio is when you can simplify your focus to what you have rather than what you have missed. Oh, I should have had this, I should have had that. It doesn't make, because that's a benefit of hindsight. You can't really create a portfolio for tomorrow based on data today. But what you can do is to look at what you have and ask those questions. So to those investors who keep buying property, I only have one question. Why are you participating in the market for thugs? Why are you there? The real estate market is filled with people who are holding cash, who are holding houses, stalling projects, refusing to bring prices down, manipulating the money and taking it off into some other project, right? What is a decent individual doing in this market which is filled with thugs? Because you want to say that I have a house in this next new project, right? Which is, think of a project which has got finished in time at the quality that you wanted and the cost you wanted. There's a time overrun every time, right? Because the money has been diverted somewhere else. So this is a clear case of taking your money and doing with it what it was intended, not intended to do with it, right? But that's what you want to worry about. You want to worry about the quality of what you hold. You want to worry and ask whether what you're holding is the best, and when circumstances have changed, has it begun to rot? So your focus only has to be on weeding out what's not working. So if Naveen's business is recommending a set of investments and continuing to ask you to continue to be investing in them, you probably, there is no cause for concern about the deterioration in quality there. And if there is a deterioration in quality, you must make a change. So somewhere, be very focused on the quality of what you're holding. That's going to make your life and your happiness associated with wealth much more. I mean, I think it has been repeated by Naveen and his clients several times. Ultimately, you want to have a good night's sleep, right? You want to be sure that you're holding something which is good and not something which is iffy. Not when you have bought, but every time you're trying to review it, you want to be sure, yeah, is it as good as it was? Will I buy it today? Which is also the reason why additional investments go into the same product. So that whole dichotomy of saying that, you know, every time I have money to invest, I should search something else, again goes against this philosophy of trying to be a happy investor. A happy investor is one who holds a portfolio that does not require scrolling the Excel sheet to keep seeing it, right? It's just one small sheet of paper, a small set of investments, and you are investing your wealth in them. Consider that as a choice. The last point I want to talk to you about is what is called as default. Every time you have money, don't make it a complicated investment decision. What should I do with money? My experience talking to very wealthy and very high earning professionals, people who draw a very large amount of salaries that run into crores. Yeah? The unfortunate common thread I find when I talk to them about their money is that an obnoxious amount lies in the savings bank account. Few lakhs. I know of top media people with whom I was talking, and I had a big agenda of what I should talk to them. And the first question that came from them was, you know, money is just lying in the bank. I asked them, how much? A very leading, a woman who was talking to leading people across, you know, multiple professions, was holding 2 crores in a savings bank account. 2 crores. And when I asked her why, she said, look, I don't know, and I can't trust somebody else. So let it just be there. I don't want to put it somewhere and lose it. Right? So which brings me to this question of a default choice, which is, if I feel hungry, I get home to eat, that kind of default choice. These days we have Swiggy, but you have a default choice on what you want to wear, where you want to go, where you want to eat, where you want to sleep, right? You're not going home every day and saying, okay, which is the bedroom I'm going to sleep in today? You're not asking this question, right? Thank God for that. Yeah? So therefore, you want to have a default choice when it comes to your money. There are these products or these choices, whether it's an index fund, whether it is a large cap fund, whether it is a multi-cap fund, you have these choices that are available to you, and you would say that I have no hesitation in passing on money that I have into these choices without having to think through the same thing again. What is the return? What is the risk? What is the investment horizon? What is the entry point? Should I stagger this? Should I divide this? You want to say, this is, I have tested, I have checked, and I know this is working for me. So when I have surplus funds, I'm happy to put it here and keep my money there. That keeps your money working. It stops your money from being idle for too long, and gives you that peace of mind of making sure the money is deployed somewhere and it is working. So somewhere I think philosophies with respect to money, which is why personal finance, right? It is curated to each one of you. Each one of us has an attitude towards income. How much is enough? We don't know. It's different for each one of us. How much to spend? It's different for each one of us. Whether we will invest or not, different for each one of us. And what kind of asset allocation or what kind of assets we will invest in is different for all of us. I want you to while you will consider all of these preferences that you have, I would want you to think about how you'll use your assets. Are you spending enough? Are you convinced that you're holding a high quality portfolio and throwing off what is not working? And do you have a default plan into which you can just simply plunge the money that you have without having to think too much? Then you are in a place where you're in charge of your money in terms of making these decisions simple. Ultimately, we want to keep our money life simple. The key to being a happy investor is to be a simple investor who doesn't complicate the decisions too much. So I think I'll leave you with those thoughts, and I would probably, the attention span of an adult class is 20 minutes. I know this by experience. By that standard, you have been absolutely attentive. And as I confessed at the start of this talk, it's not that I can't claim to have said anything new or anything that is a great value add, but my intent is to ask you to think about some of these aspects and leave you with this idea that why I want to say spend is because I find myself in the same place. I'm 61 and I have no interest in clothes or jewelry. I still continue to earn an income and I don't know what to do with it because there is nothing to buy. There's no child to educate. Yeah? There's no new car to buy. There is no new thing to buy for the house. Yeah? What do I do with my salary? I donate half of it. My husband would not let me donate more than that, so I donate half of it. That still leaves me with half. So my children tell me, do what you want. I don't want anything, right? So what do you do? Yeah. So it's a question, it's a personal question that I'm grappling with. So I'm suddenly saying that I haven't learned to spend. Yeah? So I would want you to think about it and learn to spend. I'll leave you with a thought and over to Naveen for any questions that will be there. Enjoy your wealth and be happy with what you've done. Yeah? Thank you.
Question and answer session will be open from now. You can raise your hands and mics will be passed to you.
As Naveen says, ask her anything. A disclaimer again, I'll try my best, okay? Yeah, over to you, Naveen.
I can ask questions, right?
Of course, of course. I hope to pass the test, Naveen.
I have a big conflict of interest in this question. So we have this so much of social media and a lot of DIY or do-it-yourself platforms and so much of technology coming in. Do we really require a financial coach? I have a conflict of interest, so I'm asking.
No worries. How many here are stitching your own clothes? Tailors in the class? I understand that half the men here don't even cook their own food. Right? So don't attempt to do something that you're not skilled at or you don't enjoy doing, right? It may all look very beautiful. You know, I call it as, I'm sorry about the term, I call it food porn. Because I have caught so many men watching cooking videos in YouTube. For what avail? I've got so many men in aircrafts, in trains. I'm saying these men are not making even a cup of tea at home. And what are they watching YouTube cookery videos for? Right? It seems to be a very convenient pastime. Or are they apprehensive? Can I do this? Can I not do this? Right? So there may be things that interest us a lot, but we may not have the motivation or the skill to get around to actually putting in that those ingredients. You know, the guy doing it looks all very beautiful, but you really can't do it. So I think DIY looks very attractive. Yeah? But behavioral science points to this, that decisions that are delegated tend to happen better if these decisions involve regret. Right? If you make a decision, I mean, the men are not cooking perhaps because they think, if I do something and it doesn't turn out well, and the wife says it doesn't taste good, I won't feel good. Right? So there's a whole extension there. Now that's a very logical thinking, because as human beings, we are incapable of making decisions which we believe, it's not fun, right? Suppose someone gives you instructions, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you do it, it's not fun. And my husband tells me, you know, when the GPS tells him, you know, turn right, he'll go straight. He says, there is one woman I can defy. You know, so sometimes, you know, it's not fun to follow instructions. Sometimes it's not fun to do an activity whose end result might leave you with regret. So you bought an investment X, and it turns out that investment Y did better. Oh, I should have done that. That's how the money lies in the bank account. So if there are decisions that might involve regret, most human beings are incapable of making the decision and choose inertia, which I believe is a good case for turning your money over to someone else to manage, because that person is accountable for the decisions he makes, unlike you. Yeah? Individual investors there's no audit of the personal finance statements, right? No one to answer. And many times the spouse says, I don't know, he just does all these investments. That's my grouse against women, huh? So women are all smiling that I'm pulling men up for not cooking. How many women here can file tax returns? Thank God. Thank God for these people, yeah? Thank God for these people, but the others will have to figure that out too, yeah? All right. Long answer, Naveen, but that's what where we are, yeah.
Please do raise your hands. I'll bring the mic to you.
Naveen, you had only one question, huh? But you'll give your investors the opportunity to ask questions. Go ahead. Please don't be dismayed by the length of the answer. Yeah, I warmed up to talking. Now I'm like, the spirits are flowing, you know? Yeah.
I have another question. I manage some very large wealth also, and what we see is the wealth grows. Okay, so the questions comes during these discussions is, how much is enough? Where do I stop? So this is because the 10 CR becomes in some year, because the rule of 72, it doubles every, based on the rate of return. So only 7-8 years it doubles. So, kidhar ruke? And it's a big question, yeah. So some actually look at the neighbor's wealth, and then that's the benchmark. So what's your take on that?
It's very difficult to answer that question. You know, there's a philosophical answer. What you don't need, right? But when it comes to money, we can't stop ourselves. But I would put it like this. There is a market in which you earn, and there is always a market that needs it. Find that market. It could be your children. It could be somebody else. Yeah? It could be, your money could be put to some use somewhere where it's making a difference. You're big enough to start an enterprise, to solve a problem, to contribute to a cause. There is an entrepreneur around the corner who probably needs the money. Yeah? So think beyond. People with wealth have the privilege to take risks, to think beyond what they have, right? They are the ones who can change the world. People who are still struggling are so caught up with their everyday lives that they are not out there to change the world, in a sense. So I would think that, like the hierarchy, right? where you take care of your basics, and then, as you move up, then that whole self-actualization goal, there is a purpose. So it's an existential answer, but if you ask the question, you will get the answer. You need to ask, you need to look around and say, where is it that my wealth is needed, where it can make a difference and bring more purpose to my life. Is there a limit to how much wealth you can have? No. I would say if the market is making that wealth for you, let it make it. Don't stop that activity. Find ways to use it. Yeah? Let the wealth grow. But find more and more ways in which that wealth can be put to use. Don't stop that process with this. Yeah? And there are vain pursuits, right? Everyone doesn't have to be in charity. I have a friend who has taken a world cruise, okay? So they're going to be in a cruise for an entire year, going all around the world, yeah? So it costs them $1 million, but their wealth is $10 million. So they're only allocating 10% to this vain pursuit. So you want to spend, you can find ways to spend. But don't stop accumulating wealth, yeah? Let it happen.
No, at that rate, I think 50% of my clients would be in that world cruise, I think.
Good for you, Naveen.
Yeah, I think
Good for you. Good
probably
for you.
I might also join them.
Good for you. Yeah.
Good evening, Doctor. I'm Fiona.
Call me Uma. Yeah.
Okay.
The real doctors are making a difference somewhere. I mean, that's. I'm not. I don't even call myself Dr. Uma Shashikant because you board a flight and then you're at a risk of being called when there's an emergency, and you have to sheepishly say, "I'm not that kind of doctor." So I would rather be called Uma. Go ahead.
So my question was about the risk that you were talking about. Sorry, you said we need to take decisions in resulting which we should not regret. So do you think that a fear of regret might be the reason why people hoard money in their savings accounts? Or there's this sense of emotional investment in our salaries, so it's not easy to simply have a space where you could invest.
Research establishes that investor inertia is a question where investors are paralyzed from making a decision. They just let money lie. We call that investor inertia. They're not motivated to make an investment decision. The primary reason for investor inertia is fear of failure. People want everything that they do to do very well. They want to tell stories of their success. They want to say, I invested in this, look where it has gone. Yeah? People don't talk about stories where they invested in one IPO and it went nowhere. They won't tell you that story. Because that story brings regret. Right? So, except for much married women, very few others talk about regrets. Yeah. The joke is lost on the group, I think.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good evening to everybody. A joke like this, I'm not so serious about my question. I see an advertisement in the TV, often nowadays is much more about the mutual funds. Mutual funds higher. And end of it, before you investing in the mutual fund, read carefully a caution.
Correct.
Why is that? In none of the other products they advertise, and there are a lot of hues and cries and it is there. But as far as the mutual fund is concerned, there is a warning. Before you invest, be careful about looking into the documents and where you invest, how you invest. So that caution is there every time. Why is that?
Correct. Fall in love, sir. Fall in love. Don't think about marriage. Falling in love is always associated with many risks. Present is not, past is not an indicator of the future. Because of regulations, sir. The regulator, because it's got a little bit of history. When the mutual fund industry began, the only other products that were available in the market were all products. We were shifting from this financial institution-based, borrowing and lending to a market-based borrowing and lending. So you had banks, financial institutions, which used to offer a certain rate of interest. So every investor at that time, I am sure people here identify with that too, would always say that if I invested in this, what is the return I would get? because that was how investments were defined. So if you had to transition that group into a group that will invest in the market, they were not ready. And every time the markets would go up, there would be euphoria, and the markets crashed, there would be tears. So people found that difficult to manage, right? Like we all consider a divorce after a big quarrel, right? And then we come back. Yeah. So so what happens is that, let me not trivialize it in a sense, but markets are like that. Markets, most things in the world are uncertain. Most. Uncertainty is a part and parcel of our existence. There's a fantastic book called Against the Gods, Peter Bernstein, where Peter Bernstein begins his argument. It's an old book. It's a 25-year-old book, I think. But it's a fantastic book on risk. So he begins the book by saying that early ancestors, when they found uncertainty, you know, it was bright and nice, and suddenly it became dark. And all these harmful creatures started coming in and attacking human beings. So they started worshipping sun as God. Rains flooded their plains. They said rain is God, right? So the idea of faith and God had its roots in dealing with uncertainties. Everything looked nice, and then it suddenly turned bad, right? So then you began to think that there is a power that will, that creates these, and therefore that power is the protector, and we would deal with the evil by venerating the good. That's where the worships began. And then of course, God, the idea of God is such a strong faith-based system, so essential for human beings. Don't mistake me for an atheist because I propounded that idea, okay? I'm not. But what do you do with money? You have to deal with uncertainty, right? So when people were not ready for risks, when they were only ready for a fixed rate of return, regulation came in and said, you're doing a new product, you have to go and tell the investors mutual funds are subject to market risks. Read offer documents before investing. Yeah? Earlier they gave us only few seconds, so it was quickly said. Now they've said you have to say it slowly. So many times we talk of recall, right? Advertisement recall. So I asked my son when he was young, he said, Mama, aap kya mutual fund ke kaam karte ho? I said, yeah. What do you know about mutual funds? I asked him. He said, mutual funds are subject to market risk. I said, that's what he has heard, right? So it's a regulatory albatross that the industry continues to carry. Yeah.
Check. I have a question with regard to, like, let's say we have the 20-year-olds, young, fresh out of college. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because we interact with a lot of 20-year-olds. So when they are young, out of college, they get a salary, maybe limited resources when they start off. But they have a choice. Either they can spend the money, they can start financial planning, start investments, or they can invest on themselves. Because 20s are times wherein you can invest on yourself, experience life and all of that. So people come up with, okay, you start early, you can make this big return on an Excel sheet, but I was just curious to know, and then they give examples of Warren Buffett started investing at the age of 11 and all of that. So I understand when you are 60s spend, but what would be your advice for people who are just starting off?
I'm going to sound horrible saying this. They must spend. They must spend. I'll tell you why they must spend. You have no idea about your money personality when you're 20. You don't know what kind of spender you are. You don't know what kind of saver you are. You don't know what kind of income chaser you are. How ambitious you are about your income. You don't know anything about your money personality. How are you going to acquire it? By doing, right? So those who tell young investors to save for retirement, to buy a house, are being very irresponsible. Retirement is not on his mind. You're 20, I mean, not on his mind. And you're going to run out of your salary in about 15 days' time and start using the credit card. Liquidity is the biggest problem for a youngster because there's a long spending list And there's only that much salary, right? But that's the fundamental finance lesson, money lesson. The fundamental finance, there are only two fundamental finance lessons or money lessons. What are they? One, money is a limited resource. Even for the richest man in the world, money is a limited resource, right? So there's no unlimited amount of money. There is only a limited amount of money. And two, there's an opportunity cost to spending. If you spend your money on A, you cannot do B. You're not going to learn both these without actually handling money. So rather than put roadblocks that come in the way of doing this, allow the young to invest their money, to spend their money and recognize what kind of income chasers they are. I run out of money in 15 days. I decide to qualify myself and get a better job and earn a better salary. That's approach one. I decide to gamble, buy some lottery tickets and hope to get rich. Or I use my parents' money. Oh, there are people who are guilty and can't spend their parents' money. Because they think I've not earned it, I can't spend it, right? So I would tell a young investor, and then buying a house will ground you too early. You need to be able to move. See, buying a house makes sense for someone who has a business that has a local network. Now, father has a business, he's created local clientele, son has inherited the business, makes sense. Your clients are there, your factory is there, your establishment is there. So you have to be grounded to that place to make most of that opportunity. But salaried people, they have to go where their job takes them, right? We've moved 18 homes in 36 years of living together. Yeah, me and my husband. We live in the 18th house. We've just gone, and 2 of them were owned houses, which we hardly lived in. Because our circumstances changed, we had to move on. Yeah? So, my thinking would be that allow the young to develop a finance personality. Let them have liquidity, because that's what they need. Let them borrow. Let them default. Let them suffer the pain of repaying high-cost loans. They'll figure. They'll figure. You can tell them that this is a high-cost loan, but then they have to make the decision, right? So I would think that until you are about mid-30s, you really don't have a surplus. These days, young guys can't even propose without a diamond ring. What are we talking about? In our times, guys just proposed at the end of the street and walked away. That's what the husband did. He walked with me with a cycle, and then he turned and looked at me and he proposed. And he got on his cycle and ran. I asked him, you didn't wait for an answer. He said, I was scared. I thought you would say no. Fear of regret, right? Fear of failure. Yeah? And there were no cell phones those days. So then I had to wait until the next day to tell him that I'm fine. I'm happy to marry you, kind of a situation, right? So, but these days boys have to go down on their knees and buy a 1-carat diamond ring, I'm told. Yeah, so the guys need money. Yeah, so let them earn well, build competence, increase their salaries, increase their spending powers, figure that they can save, and then begin saving. They'll do very well. They will save a lot when they reach that middle age. Yeah, let them enjoy their money. Yeah. I'm getting smells of food. I'm hoping I fear I'm holding you. I'm standing between you and your dinner, right?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
You did mention about young people. There's another aspect, because since I'm a college teacher, I connect with a lot of young people, and very important thoughts that we speak about today, the present generation, their focus is on everything that is very fast, whether it's food. You mentioned about a lady with gold visibility, because, car, you ask young people or very small children, they will tell you the names of cars which we have not heard of. Then also when it comes to returns as well. So what advice would you give me so that I can pass it on to young people that money cannot be done fast? Because we had Bitcoin, it was like a bubble. Everyone realized what it was, because probably we say anything that excites you are not making money. It's simple as that. Those who get into it first, they do it, but then people who are in the queue, they rather come out losing all that they have invested.
Correct.
So how do you feel we can convince the young minds that food, everything is okay, but not when it comes to investments. Patience is important.
Yeah, I will put the responsibility on the parent. We live through an era of very indulgent parenting, where parents do not tell their children that there is a limited amount of money. Adult children live with their parents and save on rent, save on food. The mother still does the laundry. Yeah? Send the child out. Yeah? Let them learn that there is only a limited amount of money. Somewhere, I'm saying that even if you are, I had a friend whose daughter was extremely demanding when it came to her wedding. This is the dress I want and this is the jewelry I want. So she said, Uma, there is no end to her limits. There's no limit. It's a limitless list. So I said, the solution is very simple. Hand over the budget to her. Tell her, I am willing to spend this amount of money on your wedding, yours. You decide how much will go for the decor, how much, and the whole character of the conversation changed. The daughter was wondering whether there should be orchids in the background or can she do with just lilies. She was saving at everything. She was trying to see whether she would save on the menu to get an additional pair of footwear, because you're learning opportunity cost. I spend on X, I don't have money to spend on Y. Somewhere, I think the youngsters lack that today. They have access to the ATM card of the father with the PIN, and they have access to money, and they believe that it's a limitless resource, and they can spend. Very young children, there are people who tell me that for very young kids, we opened a bank account, we are asking them to, write down accounts. That's not going to teach them personal finance. No. Give them a budget for their birthday party. Tell them, on your birthday, we are going to spend X amount of money. Manage this. You'll find the child learning finance like that. Because the child would have to make a call. Should I give a return gift? Now the child will suddenly say, let me hand pack the return gift. I don't want to buy the paper. Yeah, because it costs money, right? So somewhere, both those ideas, that money is a limited resource, is not available to them. They need to know, and there is also another problem, sir, which is the youngs today are suddenly realizing that they're not earning enough to match their parents' lifestyle. They've lived in a large home, air-conditioned home, driven fancy cars. It's all the father's money, right? They feel very privileged and entitled to it. And they suddenly are in jobs in which the salaries are so low that they can't even take an Uber to office every day. Yeah? So we are not harsh enough with youngsters, sir. We do not allow a reality check to happen. My first piece of advice there is enable a reality check. Your money, your expense. And if you want to give the child an allowance, limit it. Say that, okay, you're earning X amount of money, it's going to be less for you. As your parent, I'm going to give you this fixed amount every month as an allowance from me to you. Because you don't want to, if there is an inheritance. Let's say there's an inheritance and you don't want to back-end it and make it available. Assume you're living till 90. Your son will get the inheritance when he's 60. Won't make any sense to him, right? So you want to give it to him when it matters, but make sure that it comes with a good dose of personal finance advice. I do believe that a large amount of spending that we see, overspending as they call it, which we see among youngsters, comes from misplaced parental indulgence. Go ahead, sir.
Just the outcome of what you said, which we are practicing at home, children have now given us one thought, one sentence. They say, rich parents and poor children.
Correct.
This is what is happening.
Yeah, we worked hard to get where we got, right? We worked hard. I mean, you have the path. Children, I remember this audacious joke, right? The father tells the son, Abraham Lincoln was sitting by the fireside and reading books at your age. So the son looks at the father and says, Obama was president at your age. And what are you doing? Yeah? So none of these arguments are actually working. So it's much better to kind of let them know that the game will be played to the rules. You can't be kicking the ball around and calling it cricket because you love it. You still have to learn the skill of playing an enthralling game within the contours of the rules. So somewhere the young do not have those contours fixed for them. we've kind of told them that have fun, do what you want. So that is dangerous. But this trick of budgeting the children works very well. Do give it a try. It works fantastically, yeah.
Good evening. I see a lot of women here. I'm sure Naveen sir has educated well about personal finance, but this is generally about women. I come across people who are well educated, they're doing very well when it comes to personal finance, but they're ignorant about finance, personal finance especially, how to save, how to invest. And at times, to an extent, they are proud of their ignorance. Oh, my husband is going to take care of it. My son does it. So how would you approach educating people or talking about money to these women?
All right. Yeah. It's again a historical thing, right? We are a patriarchal society. And more than that, I mean, links back to this question of men not cooking, for example. There are models. See, the household is still an organization that has to be managed efficiently. Our historical model for managing the household was a division of work, a very clear demarcation of roles, and women chose to be the natural providers, nurturers, and men the hunter-gatherer, provider, nurturer model. It persisted for a very long time. And in many households, it still persists, where, you know, there is a job the woman does and there's a job a man does, and these divisions are very clearly present. Many times the spending decisions are made in consultation. The spouse is consulted. Should we be buying this house? Should we be renovating in this manner? Should we take this holiday? So while the husband, I mean, let me kind of, at the cost of generalizing, say this: the man may not be taking career advice from his wife, may or may not be taking career. I know of men who do that too, because they want an independent point of view. But let's assume that men don't take career advice from their wives, but there is a model of division of work which has worked for a long time, which women have not complained because they are happy to be doing the role that is theirs. And as I said earlier, it's a fairly thankless, laborious, hard task to do anyway. So women are reluctant to take on more than that. So the pride in saying that he manages the finances comes from a certain trust in the husband and a certain implicit understanding that this household works well with this division of labor, right? Division of responsibilities. From there, we have moved to an era of seamlessness today, where the woman says, if I can do this, you should be able to do this. If you can do this, I should be able to do this. But we still have primarily arranged marriages in our society, where the parents believe that as long as a boy has a job, has a good family background, and has a good car and a home, he is a lovable character. Right? It sounds very absurd. Right? To think that a parent can tell a child who they should fall in love with is itself quite a stretch of imagination, right? But parents are petrified. What if she falls in love with the wrong boy? Right? Boys are not against girls because girls are smarted up to saying that I don't want to marry this grown-up child. You know, we have a problem there. So the society is now grappling with the idea of seamlessness and not able to find a satisfactory solution. Young women are turning around and saying, I don't want this role division. Right? We have a long way to go. I'm not pardoning women who say, I don't know finance, but I'm saying they're conditioned into thinking that their roles are divided like that. It can be changed. I believe that the onus is on the man of the house. More than financial literacy programs that you and I can do, I think it's the man of the house who needs to involve her in the bank account, in the tax return, in the credit card statement, in the investment decisions. So she's able to participate and learn gradually. Because I have seen a tragic outcome where the man passes away and then the woman is exploited by children and others and relatives because she doesn't know how to manage finance. So we can keep arguing until the crows go home that women must learn finance. But we do not know when they will come around and do it. I wish they did it sooner than later. Yeah? And in our family, I'm the only woman who's managing finance. The husband just signs the checks. Yeah? But it hasn't inspired any other woman in the family to take it on. So I'm a personal failure when it comes to educating women in the household. So I think I have no locus standi to talk on the topic. Yeah, it's a difficult task. It's a difficult task. I have the reverse job, reverse problem. Man of the house is not learning finance. Yeah, he says you take care of it. Yeah, so it's a problem because we divide work. Seamlessness is very romantic, but we'll get there.
Yeah, Uma would be there till morning 4 o'clock, I think. Yes, so she's there for dinner, and you can ask as many questions to her. And so that was wonderful, Uma.
Thank you.
And please be on stage. Please be on.
Thank you. Brevity is not my strength. Okay, I'm sorry about the very long answers. But I enjoyed that session. Thank you, Naveen. I enjoyed answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering all our queries. You are truly an inspiration, a great mentor, and a role model. We would like to express our greatest gratitude to Dr. Uma Shashikant for spending a valuable time with us. I now call upon Dr. Aruna Kamath, renowned gynecologist, to hand over a gift on behalf of Team Naveen Rego. Thank you, ma'am. Before we conclude this event, we would like to play another video clip about our client's experience. This video has been shared by Mr. Sushil Chandra. To introduce him briefly, Mr. Sushil Chandra is a mechanical engineer and was a part of the top management of MRPL. He retired recently from his post and is currently residing in Mumbai.
This is Sushil Chandra speaking to you all from Mumbai. Greetings to all of you who are there in person in this venue, and also who are watching this through online all over the world. On this happy occasion of Naveen and his team celebrating their 20th year of association with all of us, I compliment Naveen and his team, and all the best to you for your future. We have been with Naveen for nearly 15 years or so. In fact, before joining that, we had our own ways of saving our hard-earned money. We went by advice of our friends and some consultants and relatives. Some of them went right and some of them really didn't. And one thing I found out was we were really not knowing where we are going. And we were not having a track of where our investments are doing well or not. And some places we also had some serious issues. That's when I got to know of Naveen. And the very first meeting with Naveen, I felt I'm the guy who is sincere and my money would be safe with him. And he has not proved me wrong till date. Instead of, there are a lot of agents who you come across on a day-to-day basis who will give you a lot of attractive returns. But I was surprised to note that in the first meeting he never spoke about returns. He just took account of all our various investments and our earning pattern and our spending, our way of spending and also any future major expenses which could occur. That made me realize, yes, this guy has got a plan. And after a few meetings, he had a solid plan for us, and we went by it. And subsequent meetings, somehow every meetings he would instill on how important it is to go by his SIP plans, systematic investment plans. Never did I imagine that this small monthly investments what we did, recurring investments what we did, would reach up to such a kind of a good corpus. Thereby now I am, though I am retired now, and I'm quite comfortable with the kind of financial backup I have. And I used to kind of enjoy my regular review meetings with Naveen, because me and my wife Ashima, we are together in this particular investment as a single client. And of course, I have recently joined my son also into this kind of saving scheme, or I want him to develop savings at a very early age of his stage of his career. I used to enjoy his review meetings because my wife would always come out with some very new, interesting investment ideas, such as either real estate or gold or something like that. And Naveen would very patiently listen to it, and he would give his spin of how the overall suggestion you given is so good, but. And he would give all his current scenario, future scenario, and stuff like that. And finally, somehow both of us used to get convinced that probably this is not the right way to go. And I always appreciate Naveen's keen, interest in knowing the current political situation, and thereby resulting financial meltdowns and recessions, etc. And he would adjust our savings in such a way that we don't feel the pinch. For example, there is a sudden recession somewhere, he would automatically on his own kind of take action. That's why I always felt that he kind of treats our money as his money. In the sense, that's what I used to tell my wife. There's a guy finally who is really looking after our money quite well. And of late, what website he has put up is very, very useful and informative, so that I don't have to trouble his office whenever I want to have an information. I just open and get to see where our investments are heading. I also felt that the support he and his office gives for during our tax returns, they're also quite helpful, so that my CA's office need not have to break their heads into kind of dissecting all the investments and returns thereof and the tax implications. This is a kind of a big service for us, as far as I think of. And I will fail my duties if I fail to compliment the excellent services of his efficient office staff. Whenever I talk to them or mail them or message them, the answers come very quickly, and they are able to kind of respond to our requirement within the time limit we require, if at all there is some redemption or whatever it is, and even during tax related calculations with our CAs. Hats off to them for their wonderful services. And overall, I felt that our wealth as of now today is quite comfortable. And as Naveen always says, my job is to see that you guys get a good, comfortable sleep. We do enjoy our sleep. And let me end once again complimenting Naveen and his team for achieving this milestone of 20 years, and wish them many more such successful milestones to come. I'm with you, Naveen, and God bless you and God bless your team. And thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you very much.
Check. I think Sir has rightly pointed out that a sound sleep without financial worries is what a good wealth advisor assures in our lives. Sir Benjamin Franklin, founding father of the US, said, "There are two ways of being happy. We must either diminish our wants or augment our means. Either may do. The result is the same, and it is for each man to decide for himself, and to do that which happens to be easier." With this, we come to an end of our event. I now invite Flavia from Team Naveen Rego to render the word of thanks.
Good evening to all. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful event. I thank God for this beautiful evening. On behalf of my team, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest, Dr. Uma Shashikant. Thank you for your knowledge-giving words and your invaluable time. I would like to thank our esteemed clients, Mr. Mohammad Iqbal, Mr. Claudio Lobo, and Mr. Sushil Chandra for the kind words. Sincere thanks to all our clients and guests who have attended this event here and are with us virtually. I thank our team, Reshma, Manjari, and Rupa, and also employees of mutual fund houses, financial institutions, and stockbrokers, vendors, and financial regulators. We also thank the AJ Grant staff and management who have helped us to make this event run smoothly. Also, I thank Esther for anchoring this event and the Bacha Party for their prayer song. Thanks to all the participants who made the event a memorable one. On behalf of my team, I thank Naveen sir for guiding, supporting, and mentoring us. Finally, I would like to thank who have directly and indirectly helped us to make this event successful. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Flavia. The food counters and the bar counters are open. You may now proceed to your dinner. Bar is outside this hall. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Looms large, and one always wonders what happens to our work after us. You have no worries. Fantastically done. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Controversial to कुछ नहीं. It was good. थोड़ा लंबा हो गया आंसर. Thank you, sir. I really,
both of them. Yeah,
I liked your question a lot.